Redeemed. Hello and welcome to the Ignite Youth Podcast here at Wainfleet BIC Church, where we discuss life through the lens of our Anabaptist roots.
I was still doing this when you started.
We're dancing to the music.
Yes. That I definitely have in my ears. We don't hear the music.
No, we added in after when we
Yeah.
edited. I could edit whatever we want. If you put your hand up, I could edit a balloon in there, like you were holding a balloon. Or there you go. Maybe I'll put what do you want to be
I don't know what you're gonna put now.
I don't know. You never know. You never know.
I'll have to watch back and see. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we are starting a new series.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
On our youth podcast.
Yeah, we're starting. It's actually going to be, I guess, tonight. This record on Thursday, comes out Friday, so the junior highs will have it first.
Yep.
But we are starting a new series called Redeemed, and what that is, it is our Easter. It's April. It's our Easter April
Nice.
series, and it's all kind of about how Jesus has redeemed us.
Yeah.
And it's very much testimony driven, and we're going to have senior high students actually share their testimonies both within senior high and then a night at junior high, and then have leaders share as well. And all of it is focusing on how we've been redeemed by Christ, and really looking towards the cross and the redemptiveness of that, of Jesus' action of dying on the cross for us. And that's kind of where we're going to sit. That's kind of where we're going to find ourselves. And yeah, so it's going to be very testimony driven, and we're hoping to have, leaders and potentially some students. I'm working on it, but Julie just heard that for the first time, potentially students.
Surprise.
But yeah, and we're working on it and trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen, what's going to work best. But yeah, I'm really excited for this series because just coming out of doing letting it go and the hard conversations before that, now talking about redeemed, I think it really points us in a way of showing God working through our group, in a nice sense of flow, if that makes sense. Sure. Talking about the hard things, letting it go to God, and now we look back and say, how have I been redeemed by God? And so on this first part, and that kind of intros our series, I would say, but on this first part, talking about time in my life when I felt like I was redeemed, and I would say that probably comes from, I think when we talk about redeemed, growing up in church, it's a very different feeling than not growing up in church, if I can say that.
I think that's fair to say.
Because I didn't grow up in church, and so my redemption story comes from first coming to faith, first coming to that interaction with Jesus. Where someone who I would say grow up in church, you hear the message of Jesus constantly and over again, but there does come a point where you feel, oh, I've been redeemed by it, and there comes to that point. And so, but growing up outside the church, and I know I've shared my testimony multiple times on the podcast and with the students, but to really think about being redeemed, I think about really understanding who Jesus was and the love that he had and why he died. And that kind of came from not my first few youth nights, but that came months into it, really, of what does this all really mean? What does it all look like? And I remember struggling really hard with the concept of someone dying for me. I struggled with that really, really a lot because I didn't want to accept it.
Yeah.
Because I want to do the whole do it myself attitude, carry it on my own. I didn't like the idea of someone who has died for me, someone who has had to give something so much for me, because I didn't think that I was worthy. I didn't think that I deserved any of it. And in my life, I struggled with things such as I struggled with feeling the weight of what others think of me, or struggling with drinking and feeling addictive tendencies to go into things as a teenager. And I felt like when I started going to youth group and hearing the message of Jesus and hearing all these things and starting to go to church, I was like, man, I really, really messed up my life. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Not because the church I went to was here are all your mistakes, but they were very kind. They were very loving. And it was just my own weight of personal guilt and sin that was weighing on me. And when I finally came to the point of understanding, God didn't do this because he has an expectation of, oh, I did this, you're going to go do that. That wasn't it, but rather just as a free, I just love you and I just care about you.
Yeah.
And I think when I fully realized that, I don't remember the exact moment, the exact time. It could have been at a youth retreat, I don't know. But I remember the feeling of feeling redeemed and feeling complete in that. There wasn't, I think it's sometimes, and I said it in the Youth Sunday message, that there's times when we feel like there's a part of us missing, or we feel empty. And it was a time in my life where I felt like that doesn't feel like anything's missing, doesn't feel like anything's empty. And it's freedom, and there's power in our relationship with Jesus. Because when we first experienced that redemptiveness, I think it really has the Holy Spirit does like just flourishing and just as bright as could be, like, oh my goodness, all of you just realized this, and then and it really flows out of us, I think. Because I remember going to youth that next time and people being like, whoa, you're like, something is different, like you could and I love seeing that in our students, especially when they come to, like, I remember one of our students, Olivia, always was someone who like asked tough questions and everything, and I appreciate that. But I remember her time being like, everything makes sense. Nice. And like the weeks following and the months following, and even now the years, like how on fire she is for God and wanting to share his news and wanting to go. I'm like, that's the redemptive power though. Like, you're redeemed and you're living that out now. And so for us, and this idea of being redeemed, I think is powerful, and it's one to remember, especially when we get towards Easter, because the whole point of Christianity, the whole focal point is the cross. Yeah. Like it's the redemptive power. It's Jesus, giving his life for us, and for that, for us to be able to focus really in on that. And we're going to, as a church and as a youth group, to really focus in on the sacrifice that Jesus has done, to remember the redemptive power that we have, and not just make it says, oh, it's Easter, we're going to sing these songs, we're going to go to Palm Sunday, we're going to go to the sunrise service, but really to focus and be like Christ, like God has redeemed us through this. Yeah. And to remember that and focus on that in our relationship with Jesus, and living that out daily, being like, God, you have redeemed me, and I'm going to walk with that. I'm going to share that. I'm free of the sin and the chains and the things because of you. And we have this eternal relationship with God that we can now say, like, look what he has done in my life. And I think of people like that I've heard crazy testimonies from, like Rick Osborne. Yeah. Like, and if you want, like, was it a prayer and praise, or was it a
he's been on the podcast a couple times. Anyway. But
yeah, and so check those out if you want to hear his testimony. And I've heard crazy stories, but at the same time, what I think is beautiful is the stories of people growing up in church, coming to understand this relationship that they have with Jesus, and having known Jesus from such a young age, the beauty of that. And I think those stories are the ones that really need to be shared as well, because I think that inspires our young people to want to then, when they get older and they have their kids, to grow them in the faith and have them be a part of church.
It's interesting how you can see, like, and you can see sometimes, like, through several generations.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I know there are lots of people here who, and not that you have to go to Wainfleet BIC, that's not what I'm saying, but where they're like, oh, my parents go here, my grandparents, my great grandparents, and even farther back. Like, some people can trace their roots quite deep in BIC, or in church, I guess I should say church in general. But it is beautiful to see that lineage,
And it all started with one person realizing they've been redeemed by Christ, and then saying, like, I need to go, I need to share.
One person like you who didn't know Jesus until, that way. And then,
and it's beautiful. And that's the thing of the redemptive power of Christ, is that it didn't matter if you grow up in church, it didn't matter if you don't. And at the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all broken, we're all equal. And Christ has the same love for us, just as he has for you and for me and for those watching. And and so as we go into this series, I know there's a shorter episode because it's the intro, and I feel like my intros always are, but as we go into this series and go into April and we get closer to Easter, I hope that we can all focus on this, is the redemptiveness. And no matter what we may be going through in life, no matter what may be happening, to remember that we have been redeemed. We all have been redeemed, and that we can trust in God and trust that what is happening and his plan is guiding this, and that he's with us even in the times that are really hard, and we feel like we've been redeemed, but we're still struggling, we're still having the heartache, and to remember that God's still a part of that and still walking with us. So
thank you, Wes. That's a good thing to fix our eyes on. If you'd like to get in touch with Wes, you can reach him at wes@waynefleetbic.com, and my email address is julie@waynefleetbic.com. So if you're listening to this in real time, make sure that you catch the service on Sunday, either in person or on live stream. It is our Youth Sunday service.
Yeah.
They're very excited, and it's going to be amazing.
It will be. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so much fun.
So good. Just as you're here on Sunday, just look around and see the various places that the youth are. If you see Wes's list of where the kids are serving, it's incredible that they're just like
they're everywhere.
They've got it covered.
I have a stagehand.
How?
I know. He's like, I don't really want to like run anything else, but can I like move things? I'm like, do I really need think about it more? I'm like, yes, you absolutely can. And so it's going to be really awesome. And then he's like, can I wear a green suit so they don't see me on the YouTube? I was like, no. Well. You're still going to be shown. We don't have that tech.
Yeah. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So check it out on Sunday. And we'll catch you next week. Have a great week.
See ya. What?